right, guys, so it's late June, and we've almost harvested nearly nothing from our garden that we've put a lot of work into. Where did we go wrong?
There's dinner in the yard, out behind the cars. Tonight we're gonna do something different. I will make the things that I know how to make. You will make something more delicious. A sweet potato pie on a flimsy paper plate. Baby, I don't think it gets much better. There isn't much to keep. We lay down and fall asleep till the morning comes around to find love.
So if you've been following along, we started working on our garden late winter. We put together these beautiful garden beds from Plant and Plot. We ran a lot of fence.
A lot of work.
We brought in a whole bunch of dirt and put a lot of sweat equity into this garden.
We absolutely did, and we were feeling really good about it right in the beginning. And then we started our seedlings indoors, and they came up really quick. They came up really strong. We were really excited about this year's garden. But then things started to stunt.
Because in the beginning, we did plant early intentionally, but we planted cold hardy things early, so we were covering those. But the struggles made us wonder, did we go a little too early? Okay, weather's warming up, we'll change our watering schedule, still nothing. Let's replant some things, still nothing. All right, well, obviously something else is wrong.
So we filled all these beds originally from a reputable local vendor here.
All in bulk, not in bags.
All in bulk, yeah. And people have had great success with this company, and we felt really good about it. But now, we're like, okay, there must have been something wrong with the soil, or something that we did. You know, we're still not 100% sure, still figuring it all out. But
we've crossed off cold weather, we've crossed off watering schedule, we've crossed off a couple other things. It's kind of boiling down to a soil problem.
And which sucks because we spent a lot of money and a lot of time filling these beds, and this is what we thought was the easier option for this year, was the bedded garden versus in the ground. But apparently not so.
So we got worm castings, we tried to do worm castings. We got compost from another local guy. That's a pretty cool operation he has. He's processing actually like chicken remains and things. There's a lot of good blood nutrients in that soil. So we tried that, and
everything was looking very nutrient deficient.
Yes, exactly. That's a great point. Everything just looked like they were just cut off for nutrients. Yep. Nothing was happening right. So that's why we went that way. Threw a little more money into that to then have more problems. It didn't really do much. We saw slight improvements, very slight improvements, yep. But slight improvements from nothing is just a little more than nothing, you know?
And so from there is when we decided, you know what, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna do our research, and we're going to figure this out, because this is most of the reason that we're here, is to be able to produce our own food, and that this is so important to us. So it's time to buckle up and not just guess on what's going on.
With the soil test, so it's a pretty cool company. We packaged some soil, sent it out to them. They send you the box first with a bag. It's pre-posted. So all you have to do is collect your soil samples, send it out to them, and within a few days,
within a couple days,
they get it. And I think it was within 48 hours of them receiving the box, our results were uploaded online.
And the reason I chose this soil test company over ones that you can maybe just buy at Tractor Supply, or you can buy at your local feed store and stuff, the reason I chose this one is because it had really in-depth diagnosis of what's going on in your soil, and then it also gave you tips on what to do and what to use and how to make your soil better.
Yeah, so it breaks down different key components of soil composition like calcium, iron, phosphorus, all these things. It gives you a ideal range in parts per million, and then it tells you where yours is and kind of gives you an idea how high, how low, or are you in that sweet spot on these various nutrients. And we found out that in a lot of areas we were pretty good, in most areas we were pretty high, but the two that were most alarming was potassium and phosphorus. And I forgot which one it is, but let's just say it was phosphorus. Maybe it's potassium, but let's just say it's phosphorus. I read on if you have way too high levels of phosphorus or potassium. And what it told me was the plants absorb that nutrient, and the excess of that nutrient blocks your plants from absorbing other nutrients. So it makes the plant look like it's nutrient deprived, like it's nitrogen deficient, because although those nutrients are readily available in your soil, the plants aren't able to access them.
Unfortunately, having too much of something is a super hard thing to fix. It's easy to add more of something, but it is harder to take away, which is what we have to do.
If we needed phosphorus or potassium, it's easier to add it, but if you already have too much,
it's a little tough. So that is what we are doing. We are trying to get our soil ready so that hopefully in the fall we can have a high producing, high yielding fall garden. But I want to start by saying that this is something that takes time, and soil knowledge is a lot more than people think. So we're trying to learn and take every fail with a smile on our face.
So now what? Well, we kind of looked into it and figured we have two different options. One is that you just wait it out naturally over time. As it rains into your soil, nutrients eventually do get washed out. So we could wait until next season basically for those levels to decrease, test our soil again, see where we were at, and just adjust for anything that was needed. But we decided that we were going to try one more thing this year, and that was to basically cut the soil that was currently in our bed. So we got a small load of cheap topsoil that we're going to adjust a few of our beds. We're gonna do one first just to see what happens. We're going to remove material out of a bed, the same bed that I already had testing, and then we're going to put this topsoil in and mix what was already existing in the bed with that topsoil to hopefully decrease our levels of phosphorus and potassium. And if that ends up being successful, we'll probably just use the load that we have here to do that to a few other beds and grow in those beds this year, and then take our next approach next year. But it is hot out. Summer has really set in here, even though it's not quite summer yet. It's 90 degrees every day, and it is early morning, so we want to get on doing this work in the garden right now, because in about an hour or two, it's gonna be in full sun. It looks like the bed, let's see if you could see it. Yeah, it's already in some sun, but that's all right. Another reason that we went with raised garden beds here, and another reason we're getting this topsoil from somewhere else, is for the most part, our soil on our property is really not good. There's some pockets of it where we have a few inches of decent topsoil, but pretty quickly it turns into clay. I'm very thankful our fruit trees have taken to the clay pretty well so far. But for us, we knew it was going to be a lot of work to work the soil that exists on our property. And that's something we plan to do over time. We do plan to use livestock to transform some of our soils, but to have a garden this year, that wasn't going to happen.
There are these little grubs that we are finding in the soil right now, And from what we know, they're not super beneficial for our soil, but guess what? They will be beneficial for our chickens. So we are gonna collect them as we're doing this and give them to our girls.
Whew. It is warm already. So we are just moving the dirt from over there into this bed that we don't currently have filled yet, so that it's kind of just a holding container for all of this. And then we'll go mix some topsoil in.
Out the sides. Hey.
Hey, it's hot. We gotta get the Ryobi thing so that we could connect the tiller to it. If you want to do that while I grab topsoil.
Yep. She is toasty out. There is always this learning curve when summer begins. It's basically like, okay, how am I gonna deal with the heat? What time in the morning do I have to wake up? So our mornings actually start way earlier now than they do in the winter. So right now we're moving around 5:30 a.m. so we can get out here before it gets a bagillion degrees out here.
It is really, really hot, as we have said, but something really exciting to share. And if you follow us on Instagram, I posted on our story about this, but if we flip around, you know that we are fully off-grid here. We have a 4,800 watt solar array, and we are running 2 air conditioners right now, which is incredibly exciting. The big one is a 30-year-old or 40-year-old air conditioner in the fifth wheel camper that we live in. And then we have a small window unit in the cabin. And that feels incredible for us because living off-grid, having comforts like that are a little difficult. And it's not the same as it might be if you did live in a normal house connected to the grid, but we are able to stay cool, we are able to have relief, and that's a big change because when we got here in our van last year, it was hot. We didn't have an easy way to escape it, but we're rocking and rolling right now. And if you hear that, that's off-grid air conditioning being powered by solar right now. We'd like to thank BLUETTI today for keeping us cool and for sponsoring today's video. We've been using the BLUETTI AC300 and its B300 batteries for about 6 months now, and we've been able to share with you all along the way the different ways that this all has evolved to help us live more comfortably here off-grid. And this little air conditioning unit behind me is a huge example of this comfortability. A hot summer day without this air conditioning running, the cabin gets unbearably hot. But BLUETTI's plug-and-play simple solution allows us to run it and allows the cabin to be ran independently from the rest of our main solar system. And being able to keep our cabin at a more moderate and consistent temperature is really important as we're using this space for some food storage and as a workshop during the day. And the AC300's powerful 3,000 watt inverter with 6,000 watt peak capacity allows me to confidently run this air conditioner along with our 2 deep freezers, our beer fridge, and power tools. And while our little window unit behind me might not be that impressive, the inverter has plenty of capability of powering a large unit and still providing you power to other devices. So as an example, the average 15,000 BTU air conditioner has a running wattage of around 1,500 watts. Well, that's just half of the capacity of the continuous output of the AC300's inverter. This means that even when running a 15,000 BTU air conditioner at full force, you'd still have 1,500 watts of leftover continuous power capacity to power almost anything that you can think of. Partnerships like the one that we have with BLUETTI are what allows us to keep creating and sharing this content with you all. And we try to be very selective to only share brands or products that we truly believe in. And BLUETTI is a brand that we feel incredibly excited to share with y'all time and time again, because they're making high quality and reliable products that enable people to experience how off-grid solar solutions can be really helpful in their life, whether it's for a camping trip, powering a shed, or running a full off-grid homestead. And last month, we shared a $100 off any item on the BLUETTI website discount code and a 5% off any BLUETTI product on Amazon discount code. And from the time this video goes live There's exactly 7 days left in these deals. So if you want to take advantage of one of those promotions, you have until June 30th. And thanks again to BLUETTI for being a supporter of everything that we have going on here at the Runaway Ranch.
The old Ryobi. The old Ryobi tiller. And I want to say that not everything that we have planted is doing horrible. A lot of our tomatoes aren't doing good, but these guys, for some reason, you can see it right there, are actually doing pretty well. We're pretty happy with them, so we are nurturing them like they are babies. So anything that is doing well, we are making sure to nurture and give them all the love that they do need. Hopefully we can get some summer vegetables and summer fruits in here as well. We had a few peas that did make it here on the gate, and we've just been eating them raw. We haven't really been putting them in anything just to enjoy them as much as we can. And we are very happy with these guys. So hopefully year after year, the soil gets better, but that's what we're doing. That's why we're putting in the work right now.
I like this. I think this is a pretty good ratio. Obviously it's gonna be hard to replicate. That's what was nice. We used buckets. We did bucket by bucket to fill this, which was a lot of work, but it let us get our ratio exact so we know the beds are consistent. We'll try our best, but what I think I'm gonna do is kind of do maybe equal parts. I think this is like 1/3 topsoil, 2/3 our garden bed mix. So maybe I'll keep doing that. We'll see, we'll play with it, but I like how this looks so far. It feels good. It feels like there's actually some silt to it, which is different. Before it was just like wood chips and wet compost, so nice. One thing I'm being careful as I'm adding this topsoil is because these are raised garden beds, I wanna make sure that I'm not adding too much of this topsoil, which would then give drainage issues to these garden beds. The way garden beds work is they can kind of trap that water in there and kind of pool up. So I'm making sure there's enough organic matter there that it's still nice and porous to still drain through.
After a brief break from the heat, we are back out into the garden and we are doing the soil test now. So Matt and I have brought all the soil back into the bed. We mixed it all up and it is ready to be sent away. This is the RX soil sample. We liked our experience the first time we did it, and hopefully this time it comes back a little bit better. And hopefully our soil is a little bit better and ready to plant before we do these beds for the fall as well. So getting this in right now.
Soil test. I need a bucket. So what I'm gonna do is because this was all mixed in, I tried to be very thorough with it. I'm still gonna try to take a couple samples from a couple different spots in the bed, then mix all of that together in a separate bucket, then fill up the bag with that.
This is something that we've decided that we're going to do every single year before the garden year starts. Every year we're gonna order a test for their soil, test it out before we start planting all of our fruits and vegetables for the year.
Just to clarify, with RX Soil, we have no affiliation with them at all. We found them through suggestions on other YouTubers and from Google searches. So we're just basing all of this off of our first positive experience. Affiliation here with them, just kind of liked our service the first time, so we figured we'd share that experience with y'all. So I took 6 different samples from that garden bed. I'm just mixing them in really good now, and then I'm going to fill the bag. so I filled it, looks like just over the line, but that should be okay. That's one thing. I actually wish that the sample was a little bigger. I think it's pretty easy to accidentally have a clump of one thing if your soil's not mixed too well and throw off your results. So I just try to be really thorough as I'm picking through that. And that's why we take the 6 different samples, mix them really thoroughly. But from there, most important part is to have your kit ID, because you just throw this in here. They even have the little sticker deal. Close it up, and it's already posted on the back. Then when the results are ready, you have your card that has your ID, you log in and check it.
So fingers crossed it comes back very soon and very quickly so we can get more stuff in the ground and not worry about our soil anymore.
We had a subscriber comment on our previous video where we mentioned our lackluster success with our garden. Their message was along the lines of, don't feel bad, as you're new to the area with new soils and a new climate. These things can change in just an hour's move, and they can take years to adjust to. This was a nice, reassuring reminder that gardening isn't always as simple as putting seeds in the ground and reaping its benefits. So if your garden is struggling, keep at it. The work will eventually pay off. And if your garden is booming, share a harvest with a neighbor who hasn't had the same luck, or who doesn't even garden. It helps to spread the excitement of what is possible. As always, thanks for running away with us.